Let the magic rise.
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
This is London Calling.
My family and I.
Ooh. Hey, folks. Welcome to Jingly-Jangly. Fake news and imaginary views for the Post-Truth Society. Yes, your antidote to reality with me, Olly Connolly, here in Valencia, Spain, Euroland. Big cheers to Mona Radler and to all the folks here at the Rev. The world has gone totally tits up, strange, peculiar. I figured we needed a break, yeah? So we're going to go slightly extracurricular tonight here on the Jingly, yeah, with JJ's regular political rap slightly shelved. We've got Rev Radio's very own Barbara DeLong, presenter of Nightlight, psychic, artist, minister, to take an alternative look. Maybe give us half a hope. I suspect she will. Oh, hey, Barbara, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine.
Oh, it's lovely to have you on the show. Thank you very much for coming on my show. I should give you a proper introduction, really, shouldn't I? Internationally known psychic, spiritually empath, lecturer, artist, and ordained minister, and presents Nightlight here. Barbara DeLong, thank you very, very much. Was a bit disorganized today with the show. I suppose it always is. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, but I'm very comfortable with disorganization. It seems to follow me everywhere I go. So a little upheaval is good for the soul, actually. It just keeps you on your toes.
Maybe, that's what it is. So I just thought it was karma. Oh.
Well, I would definitely go along with that. I'm finding that what used to be a normal, comfortable, we had regular expectations and they were filled type lifestyle is totally out the window now, and logic and reason no longer applies. So we're all having to learn how to fly by the seats of our pants, and some of us are capable of that, and some of us just aren't, and they tend to pummel towards the ground.
You're on the pulse with exactly my theme here. That is it. I mean, it's chaos. We're living in such a chaotic world, and but actually, for a lot of people, it is seriously chaotic. I mean, it's really nasty. It's easy to sit here in a pretty comfortable flat in Valencia, right by the beach, but some people are trying to land on the beach, and but it's actually that chaos, quite frankly, is if anything, is going to deepen. No.
Oh, absolutely. And you sound very comfortable. I'm sitting in Connecticut with 2 feet of snow, so so just count your blessings over there. No, but it really you've really hit the nail on the head, and even those people who are spiritually oriented and the fluff heads and all of that are suddenly having to step back and saying, wait a minute, I thought I was cruising, and now suddenly my engine is stalled. And I think that for almost everybody, life is changing radically. And if you're not comfortable with change, then you're having a miserable time. If you think change is wonderful, like I do, it's a roller coaster ride, and it's holy crap, I didn't expect that. So it
does depend on the change, doesn't it? And some change is more frightening than,
Well, yeah, no, it's your perspective. And And it's I have people calling me all the time now, and it's, oh my God, I thought I was on my spiritual pathway and now I'm in the woods. And you're not. The path just seems to lead through the woods at this moment in time. And when you look at the political situation everywhere, there's upheaval, there's change, and change is good because it shakes those people who have sunk their roots into a situation and decided to own it for life and not let anybody else have a chance. It shakes them up, and I think the shakeup is just the most amazingly wonderful thing that could have happened to the entire world.
I want to come back. I want to qualify you, Barbara. To be honest with you, I don't really know exactly what a psychic is. Yeah. So can you just give me a bit of an underlying understanding and how that, because that's different from being an ordained minister, of course. So,
oh, absolutely.
But this is a very interesting. That's an interesting Venn diagram there. No.
Oh well, yeah. But
you got into this late in life, didn't you? You thought, because you were talking about upheaval just a minute ago. Your life has completely turned around, hasn't it?
Well, it has, but I've been in this field for 50 years now. So, it's sort of something that has evolved. I mean, I taught school for 25 years. I have 2 master's degrees in education. I am a minister, but it's a spiritual minister. That's a legal one, though, otherwise. And it just, what I do is I'm able to read people's energies. I'm able to tell them what's going on in their lives and possibly where they're going and things that are yet to come. I'm a medium, so I speak to spirits, those who have crossed over, those who want to talk, and I do past lives for people to give them an idea as to, in past lives, what talents and gifts they had that they're bringing forward into this lifetime to be able to use to make their life a richer, better place for themselves, not necessarily monetarily, but energetically. And I write, and I have a huge website that's lots of fun to read because I'm into things like giants and structures, megalithic structures, the chambers that are here in New England, and so it's 50 years of research into, like I said to you, I know enough about just about every topic to get in real trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Sure. I mean, yeah, no, personally, I think I'm a young spirit. Yeah. I'm very open about these kind of things, but I don't pretend to understand anything about them. But I was going to have somebody else on the show tonight who didn't want to come on because there was going to be a psychic on the show.
Really?
And yeah.
Oh, how cool is that? I'm intimidating. Or frightening. I'm going to take it as flattery any way you go.
How do you round that circle with people? Because the thing is that what you do, it's impossible to convince people. Well, it's impossible to convince people of anything that they don't want to be convinced about. But okay, I'll be honest with you. You were described as a charlatan earlier. Not you personally, but psychics in general. How do you get that a lot? Yeah, I mean, less than you used to, maybe, but.
Well, I think that the biggest thing going here with the psychic stuff is that a true psychic, a true spiritual worker, basically is committed to living their spiritual beliefs in spite of what other people think. And those spiritual beliefs have nothing to do with raising the dead or walking on water. They have to do with kindness and goodness and a sense of deep love for all of humanity. So in many ways, I mean, I understand that there are charlatans out there, and they're amazingly well, some of them are amazingly rich, so they've done very well. Please
understand, Barbara, I'm only playing devil's advocate here. Yeah,
go for it. No, you're absolutely true.
Well,
No,
your gift, I guess, your gift is being able to communicate with people who've passed on, as you say. And would I be correct in thinking that? I mean, you mentioned the kindness and what have you, but your singular gift would be that, no?
um, no, it's one of the gifts that I have.
Okay.
I think that for the most part, that my work involves with helping people see that they have other options in life, that they have gifts and talents that they're not utilizing that can make their life a fuller, more vibrantly alive place for them to survive in, and to go beyond surviving life to living life and celebrating life. And you don't have to be rich to do that. You have to have a perspective of understanding that you're on a you're a spirit on a human journey. You're gathering information to enrich the spirit that's within you, so that it can go forward into other lifetimes, other dimensions, even, and learn and gather more. So that
I admit I am curious about that. I do wonder about this theory of what's the word when you're born again? Sorry.
reincarnation,
Yeah, yeah.
reincarnation.
I do wonder about that. I do wonder about the spiritual journey and each realm, if you like, or this realm anyway, being a test. And I mean, I guess I find it a satisfying theory. But
Well, I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't so much call it a test as I would call it a school, where before you entered in, you said, I want to work on this, and this. Send me situations that will enable me to grow and overcome these kind of situations that will make me a deeper, better person. So that when all hell breaks loose in my life, I roll my sleeves up and say, well, I'm not sure I asked for exactly that, but since it's here, we will deal with it. And to approach the bad times and the difficult times with a sense of, okay, this is not a test, but this is a situation that's been presented to me so that I can grow and become stronger. That old saying, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, kind of does apply. And if you can get to the other side of any sort of difficulty, the death of a parent, the death of a spouse, the loss of a job, the being medically challenged so that you can't do the things that you like to do, and realizing that just opens the door to some of the things you haven't gotten into yet, so that no matter what it is that hits you in the face, it's a chance to grow and become a better, richer person. Yeah.
Do you not have a kind of compromise between being a psychic and being an ordained minister, or would it? I mean, presumably there are ordained ministers and ordained ministers. Yeah.
I'm an ordained spiritual minister. So
okay.
I've served in the pulpit for 5 years in a spiritualist church here. And,
right.
I was very surprised when they kept asking me back, because, to be honest with you, the very first time I served in the pulpit, I took it so seriously. I put the congregation and the organist and quite possibly myself to sleep. So when they asked me back the next time, I took a different direction with it. It was basically, there are lots of lessons we learn in life. I'm going to share with you some of the ones that I've screwed up, royally, so that you can find your own to screw up, because, I'm going to tell you what the lesson is, what the rule is, what the universal law is, and how I messed up. And I found that if I could get the congregation laughing, that my message was getting through to them, and they would remember the message. And so after that, aside from the fact that quite often I forgot to take collection, they still kept, inviting me back.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So a spiritual church, how does that work compared to, for example, Church of England? Excuse my, pretty basic.
It's basically, it's the same format as any Presbyterian or Methodist Church. They have the same kind of service. They have the invocation. They have it's a church service.
So it is a Christian church.
Well, the spiritual church itself, if I go back to the very beginnings of it in the 1860s when it was created as a way of protecting mediums of the day from prosecution. Right. And spiritualism itself is a philosophy. It's not really a religion. But it is protected under the guise of a spiritualist church, and they have them in Great Britain and they have them here, and basically they are, there is a God, yes, but I would say it's Judeo-Christian rather than just Christian. It embraces a lot of different things, but it doesn't have the dogma that a Methodist church or a Protestant church or a Lutheran church would have, but they use the Bible and they have crosses, and it's merely, actually, in all reality, it is a venue for the concept of spiritualism to be taught in one that protects it from prosecution.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So, are you suggesting that faith is a more personal thing, as opposed to a lot of folks go to church and it's religion and it's more overt and even conflictive, very conflictive these days? Is it more of a private thing, and the spiritual church itself is basically as you say, a way not to get sued, or even worse, back in the 1870s?
Oh, yeah. Well, basically, religion is a stepping stone. Religion originally was created to help guide the masses into an understanding of a new philosophy. But if you go way back to, the time of Christ, he had no intention of creating a church. He was a Jew. So spirituality takes all of the concepts of the different religions, and it I think in many ways it softens them and it puts them into a more palatable way of living your life. Spirituality is, in essence, a way of life. It's not necessarily something you do only on a Sunday. Spiritualism is something you do every day. It's how you live your life. It's how you treat your fellow man. And it's not the best of it's just another philosophy of expanding yourself into your reality.
Is that not supposed to be the case with all religions?
Well,
supposed to be.
Yeah. It's definitely supposed to be, but most major religions.
I mean, that's what the Ten Commandments are, isn't it? It basically is. It's a creed, a way of life.
It is, but today, I would say almost 90% of the religions out there are corporate entities that, at the very beginning, had a wonderful philosophy to them, and religion is philosophy. It's not meant to be something that you rule your life by. It gives you tenets to follow and to apply to your life at all times, at all points in the day, so that it's not a Sunday only. If you sit in a pew, that doesn't make you a religious person. It makes you a person who wants to prove to everybody else that you are a member of a group. And spirituality isn't a group thing. It's a very personal thing.
I have to say, I do find it very suffocating, the impact of religion every day on our lives. It's not directly so much as indirectly, and actually directly as well. Our local vicar, actually, I quite like him. He's very eccentric. He plays any chance he gets. He plays the bells, and basically tells us all, that reminds us that this is a Catholic country, and it is actually rather nice. But the fact is, it's very invasive, and religion. It really worries me that kids are indoctrinated, even have bits chopped off them in the name of religion and stuff like that. It to me, it's like, I agree. Faith is a personal thing, surely, and religion seems to me just like a control construct.
Well, it has become that, but society as a whole, if you take a look at what our children are being taught today, whether it's religious or historical, they're being taught a bunch of lies.
Mm.
And it's no way, I believe children should be given a wide spectrum of religious beliefs in order to pick what fits them, or to take a little from here and a little from there, but give them a foundation, but don't make them think it's a prison. It's something to build from, not something to hold you in and control you.
It does feel like a prison. I used to serve at church when I was a kid, and I was, christened and all that. And then I had my confirmation when I was 13, and I carried the cross up the hill on the, I don't know, Easter Palm Thursday or whatever. I did all that stuff with the church, and I was quite involved until one of the guys at the church tried it on with me. And I kind of, didn't really like that and never went back. And he didn't do anything, but he did try it. And I just thought, and he was, the sexton, the verger, one of the guys in charge sort of thing. So it wasn't very impressive. And I haven't really been back since, but I did feel that it was very much, that it was, what was the word you used? I'm sorry, very kind of in a box, basically, as opposed to then there's Islam's in another box and Buddhism's in another one, and so on and so forth.
And they all have great value. Every single religion out there.
Really? Are you sure? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Almost every religion.
I try to hope so, I suppose. Yeah,
every religion out there, every one of them has the golden rule as its foundation. Now, they've all bastardized the whole thing, up the wazoo, but they started out with the golden rule.
Pure. Really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for example, Roman Catholicism, the Roman Catholic Church, I thought it was a tourist industry. I thought it was a great way to drum up the pilgrims, get them, flocking into Rome.
Well, it was.
Maybe I'm wrong.
And no, Constantine, turned everybody Christian. And
he did.
And then,
why did he do that? You think it was a pure thing, or am I missing something?
No, I think it was a way for him to pull everybody together. He took the pagan holidays and he made them Christian holidays, so that no matter what you were celebrating on that day, it was a way to consolidate the people that they had enslaved. And then his mother went out and decided to hunt up all of the holy pieces of saints and stuff. And then
did she? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, Helena went out and she went looking for the true cross, and she went looking for all sorts of objects that were, spiritual. And then he said, well, I want a Bible. Put a Bible together. So she must have been
pretty keen to have done that. I mean, that sounds more genuine than my.
Well, I think
it's cynical.
I think it hinged on fanatical, but I'm not sure. But anyhow, she did it, and then they put a Bible together, and they got all of the ancient texts, and they picked the ones that they thought they could weave into a story, and they created the Bible.
Well, I mean, okay, there you go. I mean, that's a good example of fake news, isn't it? The Bible, because half of it is, it's not so much what they put in as what they left out, and we just don't know. Well, I mean, have you ever been to the Vatican in those archives out of interest?
They don't let people in there. Are you kidding me?
Wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't it be amazing?
No, I haven't been. But you stop and think a second. Most of the disciples were illiterate, and yet they suddenly have written books that are published. That's not true. I mean, there's good information there. I'm not saying there's not, but I am saying that it was put together as a book. They took out things that they didn't think fit of the ancient texts that are out there. And if you go and read some of these books that are not included in the Bible, especially Thomas, you'll find that it's another skew on the whole story, so that nobody really knows. It was 2,000 years ago.
True.
Yep. So the basic thing comes down to the belief in a higher power, and living your life according to the golden rule. And if you have those two things, you've got faith.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Okay. Which is nothing to do with religion, in fairness.
No.
Just clarifying that. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And I'm going into, Judaism, and I'm going into Catholicism, and I'm going into the Native Americans, and I'm going into all of the different.
It's belief, ultimately.
It is.
And it's a personal belief, which is passed down, or not necessarily passed down, but there is a cultural thing there as well.
I think that as we become adults, we become more and more in tune with what our personal belief system is. And, if there are generations that religiously go to church, but for the most part, people are very content within the temple within, so to speak. And that, so long as they are living honorably, and they are living with love, and they are treating people with love, that's enough. And it truly is. There are people who have been born again who don't believe anybody else is going anywhere unless they've been born again. That's not what the Bible says, but that's what they believe. So that
you mean born again Christians, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about going to church.
How can you be born again? Sorry, what does that mean to be born again? Is it kind of to have a second? Actually, I will become a Christian after all, sort of thing. Is that what it means?
No, it's accepting Jesus Christ as your personal savior. And to me, and meaning no offense to anybody, but I kind of give that over to what I consider God. Jesus was a good guy. He was a prophet. He was a teacher. He was a rabbi. He was lots of wonderful things, but he negates out God.
He was an activist.
Yes, he was.
He went into the temple and told them what for. I'll tell you, you get arrested doing that. Well, he did. Yeah. Sorry, not funny.
No, it's true. And but he was a Jew, and he was an Orthodox Jew. So, when I talk to people,
how do you know he was Orthodox, Barbara?
Because he was a rabbi.
Right. I don't understand that. Rabbi means teacher, doesn't it? So potentially anybody could be a teacher, a rabbi.
Yeah, if you.
But it's a Jewish word.
If you have studied the texts of the Old Testament and stuff like that. If you've studied that, then you begin to teach, and then people follow you, and you tell them, all you've learned and all your wisdom. But every time a rabbi teaches and then another generation comes in, everything is like that. Have you ever played that telephone game where you whisper something in one person's ear and everybody whispers, and by the time you get around to get round the circle, the message has changed?
Well, Chinese whispers, eh?
Yes. It's the same with religion. We're 2,000 years later. I mean, I would love to sit down and have a glass of wine with Jesus and talk to him and see, what did you really think was going to happen? Because he didn't want it to be a church. It wasn't until Paul decided that, there was a religion here that he created the church. So it really should be.
Oh, right. Okay. So what was the difference under Constantine?
I think it was the organization. I think Jesus was preaching a philosophy, and it was good for everyone. And he preached to Jews, and he preached to Gentiles, and he preached to everyone. And the church, as it was created, became very restrictive. And then other people broke off, and then Henry VIII decided to have his own church, and so that it has become fragmented, but the basic principles, the foundation of all of them, are very pure. And the older I get, the more I tend to look at, okay, we're on the earth plane, and this is something that is indigenous to the earth plane. But what happens, out there in the solar system? I still believe that there is a higher power that has the whole thing as its domain, and therefore, we go beyond our concept of God into a higher entity that is a universal entity that watches over us, doesn't interfere, doesn't intervene, but watches.
A universal entity. What kind of entity are we talking, Barbara? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a hard question for you to answer as well. Well, it can never be easy, surely.
Well, it's not an old man with a white beard, and it's not angels with halos and harps either.
I want a refund.
I think you have a choice there. But I believe that there is a consciousness out there that created everything. And I believe that it can take form if it wants to, but I don't believe it really wants to at this point in time. And I believe it is a consciousness that is evolving and growing as we are, but on we're much smaller, scope. But I believe there is a universal consciousness. There is a universal energy that truly did create everything and everyone, all the planets, all the different cultures, all the different kinds of people, all the different galaxies, all the different concepts of treating one another and being able to function in a reality that is free of war and free of hate.
Do you believe that this consciousness is something that we share between us, and that your psychic ability is an ability to be able to channel that? Or what is there any relation between the consciousness that you describe as the creator and our cooperative? I mean, are we God, or is God a third thing? I guess I'm asking in a way.
I think we're God too. There's a very small part of us that is God. That's what gives us a spirit, a soul.
Created in His name, it says in the Bible, doesn't it?
It says in His
sorry,
name,
in His likeness. I'm in His likeness. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, but that's just for this planet. Understand that in my philosophy, we have been and will go to other planets and take other forms, because that's what would be indigenous to that planet or that area. So that we may not have always been in human form, but we are now. And I do believe that as far as, we all have a consciousness, and we have a higher consciousness, and there's an ego in there. And when we can touch into the higher consciousness and ignore the ego that usually, wants to take control and be the big wig, if you can send that out to lunch for a while, you have a pure form of information that you can share with other people. And when I do readings, I basically take myself out of it, and I draw on an energy inside of me that is connected to that universal consciousness, hopefully. And it's kind of interesting, because when one truly is channeling, when one truly is pulling information from a higher source, it will never tell you what to do, but it will give you philosophy to take in and then apply to the situation and make your own choices. Psychics can't tell people what to do. They can give them information and they can give them insight, but this lifetime is totally yours, and yours to mess up or excel in or take a vacation with. It's that spirit within you that makes those choices, not somebody telling you what to do. That's not, in my opinion, that is not the purpose of any psychic or channel or medium. I never tell somebody what to do. I give them good spiritual advice. If somebody says, should I leave my husband and, go with this boy toy I've got, I probably would say something like, maybe this is a time to reflect upon the consequences of your actions and who's going to be hurt if you do this and who's not going to be, and give yourself some time to have a better understanding of what's going on, because right now your hormones are out of control. So,
how did you know? Yeah, no, sure.
It's usually, if there's a boy toy involved, that's usually the case.
Okay. Yes. So when you do this channeling, is channeling the right word?
Yeah.
Do you do this using your third eye? Is that how it works, or just is that the purpose of the third eye? It also produces you with some kind of enzyme, doesn't it? Your pancreatic gland.
Yeah, no, it really does, and I think the most fun of all with all of this work, for me anyhow, and please understand that I'm giving you only my opinion. There is not I don't speak for any group or anything like that. This is just my experience.
Yep. That's why you're on the show, Barbara. We just want your experience. Thank you.
I'm on the show because you didn't have a guest. Give me a break.
Oh, Barbara! Oh, come on! It's lovely to have you on the show too, my dear. It really is, and I'm very, very grateful. You did help us out. Yeah.
No, you're so welcome. No, what happens when one channels, if one is absolutely channeling, and people can fake it beautifully, by the way, but if you're truly channeling, something happens internally, and it's almost like adrenaline is released. You become higher than a kite in the best way ever.
Wow.
And I designed a deck of oracle cards that are hand painted mandalas, and there are 52 of them. And they're it's called the Cosmic Deck of Initiation. They're out there, but when I did them, I had gotten very offended by Standard Tarot. I thought it was negative and icky, and and to be perfectly honest, I said bad things about tarot cards any chance I got, because I thought that they were archaic and they didn't present a spiritual whatever. But anyhow, I digress. So I was teaching school full time. I was a single parent, and I was painting these cards, and I painted 12 hours a day. And I got by on maybe 2 hours sleep. And I have never been more energized in my life. I have never been more excited about life. And I wasn't tired. I lived for almost 9 months on 2 hours sleep a night. And it was just, it was amazing. And that was true channeling. I didn't need sleep. And I think I ate, but I didn't eat that much. And it's an amazingly wonderful experience. But
so that's a different kind of channeling. That's a very different kind of channeling.
Well, it's a spiritual channeling.
It's so to keep yourself going, basically. You're giving you a spiritual energy as opposed to eating a biscuit.
Yeah. And it was amazing, because after a while it was like, I would come home from school, I'd, make a meal, and my son would go to bed, and I would start painting. And next thing I knew, it was 4:00 in the morning, and I would get a couple of hours sleep, get up and do it all over again. And I have found that when I talk to other psychics or other mediums or whatever, and they say, how do you do that? Because we get so exhausted, and, and it's like, then you're not doing it right. Because if you're truly channeling, you are energized by this. This is something that is so exciting that you just, I usually, if I was doing a group reading or something like that, where I was giving messages to 300 or 400 people, by the end of the evening, somebody would say, "Oh, you must be exhausted," no, get me some greasy food. I have to come down off the ceiling because I'm higher than a kite.
So what is that? Presumably that's dopamine or something. Anyway, carry on.
I don't know what it is. All I know is that I just wanted something, something not healthy to eat
Yeah.
because, and more likely than not a hamburger or something like that, because you just get so charged by doing
Yeah.
it. It's so exciting. And, I can remember one time I was in California and I was promoting the cards, and I was doing, I was in a bookstore, and I said to the woman, I insist you do a free meditation so that people can see how I work and listen to me and decide if they want to have a reading the next day or not. And I said it has to be free. And I said, I will make sure that everybody gets a message, but don't advertise that because I'll be overwhelmed. And she did advertise it. And I think we had 120 people there. And we did the meditation. I led the meditation, and I stood there for probably 9 hours. And I made sure everybody in the room got a message. And, whether it was,
Wow.
You're going to Disneyland or, your mother's in spirit and she's saying you haven't cleaned your room in months, it's disgusting.
You don't get blanks. You don't have blanks with certain people, for example.
No.
You get messages for everybody.
Well, sure. I mean, there are people that say they can't be read, but that's ridiculous. Anybody can get read. They may not like what they hear.
Yeah, sure.
But it's sort of like you give information to them, and at least I try to make sure that I give everybody something positive they can work with. I mean, everybody knows what the garbage in their life is. You don't need to tell them. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And most people who are going to a psychic have garbage that they want to work through. So that's an easy thing. But better, more important to be able to say to them, you have talents and gifts here that you haven't utilized yet. You haven't reached for. And you put all your creative stuff on the back burner because things weren't going well in the physical plane for you. But the reality is, by doing that, you shut yourself off from the source of the information that you could draw from yourself to solve your issues. And
sorry, how do you do that? How do you shut off? By what? I apologize.
Spiritual energy can manifest within your reality through channels of creativity. And if you aren't being creative in your life, then those channels are shut. And by being creative, I don't mean, you're an artist and you sell your artwork. If you're paid for it, it doesn't count. But if you're doing something of a creative nature in your life, and it can be anything from taking engines apart and putting them back together just for the hell of it, or painting or drawing or knitting or gardening, or, I mean, there are a gazillion things that are creative that we can do. And that opens those channels. And during those times that you are doing a creative project of any sort, you are tuned. You are more tuned to that higher consciousness inside of you than at any other time. And that's when you get inspiration. That's when you get those ideas that can take you into the areas that you need to go into. That's when magic happens in our lives. And it's a simple process, and it's an easy process. And if people say, well, I'm not creative at all, and that's ridiculous, everyone is, I tell them to Google mandalas for coloring and to color for half an hour a day. And the coloring becomes a meditation. And when you're doing that, you are opening yourself up to the higher consciousness. And that's when stuff comes through. That's when you get inspiration.
We had a chap on last week, Nick Barker, who is a mindfulness practitioner. And he was telling us a bit about that. And he actually led us in a meditation, Barbara. Have you ever done that? Do you do that on your show? Do you lead people in meditation on your show, or out of interest?
I don't do it on the show, but I have done it. I had a meditation circle for 17 years in my home.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Yeah. It was great until it got so big that, there were so many people there. My mother kind of
needed more chairs.
We ran out of chairs. I think one time we had 70 or 80 people in the house, and
really?
My mother said this is a bit much. She was right.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yes, what kind of meditation do you do then for from your perspective, I mean, do you just think any kind of meditation, well, I mean, for example, the kind of mindfulness meditation that you can involve yourself in online with YouTube and stuff like that. I have some amazing stuff. Would that suffice, or I mean,
I basically
you mentioned
think
mandarins. That makes sense. Things that
Mandelas,
put
yeah,
you into a bit of a Mandela's. Sorry, yeah,
yeah,
puts you in a bit of a trance.
or another zone. Absolutely. I have found that for people that have not meditated before, that it's best to have a led meditation, because if somebody says to you, "Oh, go ahead and meditate," and you've never meditated, you'll end up sitting in silence and quietly listening, and then saying to yourself, "I wonder if I'm meditating now." And if you're talking to yourself, you're not meditating.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, led meditations are really a good way to make sure that you're really getting there.
I wonder if I'm a bit lazy because, to be honest with you, I listen to you know what I mean by ASMR.
No.
Um, it's this thing. Oh, what does this stand for? I can't remember. Something asymmetric. I don't know. Anyway, basically, it's where somebody on YouTube or what have you. No. I'm describing it very badly. It's basically it's sounds that give you tingles or things that give you tingles, but it's really sounds. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for example, it might be you're sat in a library and it's all very quiet and there's just the occasional turning of a page and maybe a couple
Mm-hmm.
of folks having a whisper and somebody walks along and you just hear their shoes on the floor and things like beautiful sounds, all these
Uh-huh.
beautiful sounds and they can put you into a kind of a trance. And people work on this. They produce their videos, their ASMR videos online. And I was actually being quite rude about them last week. But some of them are great, fantastic, really really good. And some of these artists are amazing. And but I find because it puts you into a kind of a trance.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if I'm a lazy meditator because I just end up falling asleep.
Well, that's okay, because actually when you're asleep, you are open to the higher consciousness too, so that
Hmm.
it really is a magnificent experience, if you do it right. I mean, if you're doing it just because you think it's spiritual, then that's not a good reason. I mean,
I
thinking.
do it personally as a kind of just a way to relax because it's beautiful.
Mhm.
But that's it. I don't really think about anything more than that, to be honest.
Well, there's a wonderful website out there called Hearts of Space,
Hmm.
and that's purely meditative music, and um, it's strange and weird. Some of it is really weird, but sometimes people use even just tuning forks. They find the tuning fork that really gives them the chills, and that's the one they use. I mean, you can use all sorts of things. Meditation is individual. It
Sure.
isn't. It isn't. You have to sit this way. You have to think this. You have to chant this. It's absolutely unique unto every person out there,
Yes.
and so, it's.
How do you like to meditate, Barbara? What sort of methodologies do you prefer?
I find I have to be in motion usually, or part of me anyhow. I garden in the summer, and I work in the garden
You
a
meditate
lot.
while you garden.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Um,
I
I
love gardening, actually. It's pretty trance-like sometimes. You go, well,
It
depends. Sorry, carry on.
absolutely is. No, it absolutely is. And if you're weeding, that's even better. I love to weed. Um, and I've
Yeah.
done needlepoint, and I've done painting, and I've done I find that if I'm sitting and listening to something soft or whatever, I'm making up grocery lists, or I'm figuring out what am I going to do as soon as this is over. And so I'm one of those people that have to be. You can get into a meditative state by walking or by running. Um, it's as
Yeah,
I said,
that's right. Yeah.
it's uniquely
I
individual.
have to admit, running has never managed to help me start meditating. But no,
No,
I know that there are there are
no,
others.
But
Yes.
but runners get into that zone,
You do, eh? Yeah.
and it's amazing. That's how they do marathons. I guess. I mean, that's just never. I don't even want to try to do that. So, but
I've got into that kind of a zone in an English pub, knocking back pints.
okay, well,
after
that's a
3 or
diff-
4. So,
that-
sorry. Okay.
that's a different kind of meditation.
Yes, it is. You're right. Yeah. Yes.
But I
Yeah.
once was comparing the high that I get from doing the painting and everything. My son had a friend who, well, he kind of strayed off the path, so to speak, and he would come by the house at maybe 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and we sat and talked about. We compared the high he got from cocaine to the high I got from painting, and
yeah. Very interesting.
I mean, they're highs. They're
Yeah.
and
That's right.
and you do get visions or hallucinations depending on which form you're taking, and we decided that mine was better because I never had the hangover.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah, it's. So you not presumably, but do you do this out of body experience sort of stuff and things like that?
Like astral projection and things like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
I've done it. It's not really something that I practice a lot, but I've done it.
It sounds awesome. If you could do that, why wouldn't you want to do it all the time? Why would you want to come back?
But everybody has had an out of body experience. Everybody.
Really?
Sure.
What do you mean?
Have you
when
never
you sleep? No.
No, well, have you ever been in bed and suddenly felt like you were falling and jerk awake?
Yeah, I guess once or twice when I was a kid more.
Yeah, that's an out of body experience. What happened was your part of you, your astral body had sort of separated and was floating someplace, and it got jerked back when I guess you probably realized that something weird was happening. Everybody's had that experience. That's an out of body experience.
I can actually picture the dream kind of falling off telegraph wires and sort of ending up awake.
Yeah, and feeling like you were falling though.
Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what it is.
But that bit presumably isn't quite such fun. But the rest, is pretty cool, isn't it? You go.
The rest is very cool. It is something you have to really work at, and it's just not one of those areas that I've really applied myself to. I never found it. I think with all the other things that I've really worked on, I saw a purpose to them, and I felt that I could help to make a difference with them, and it made sense to me. Astral projection was not one of those.
Right.
There's no way I could find out what the lottery numbers are going to be.
You didn't do this for that.
Well,
you didn't go down this path for the lottery numbers.
No, and you can't. They draw them, the moment that it's, you can't do that. I mean, with the cards that I did at one point, I had numbers on the cards, and I said to my mother, "Hey, let's pull cards and see if we can win the lottery." Doesn't work that way when you're really truly in this field. If you use your gifts to try to benefit yourself or enrich yourself, eventually they either go away or something goes very, very wrong. So
this is a karma thing. Do you believe?
Yeah.
This is part of the. Well, I used the word test, but you corrected me.
Well, I think everybody has the same abilities I do. Everybody has the gift of being able to do what I do. Everybody. And it's just a matter, it's like working a muscle. If you work at it, if you focus on it, it develops and you get better. If you don't, then you have your little flashes of intuition, or you know who's on the phone, or you see something before it happens and you think that's so cool, I saw that. But you're not going in and working on yourself in order to enable yourself to have that experience more and more and more. There's nothing magical about what I do. I'm using a talent that everybody has.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. That's a lovely thing. We're coming up to a break, as you know, Barbara. and we'll come back to this. And I want to ask you more about this talent that we've got and that we don't realize that we have. And I want to ask you a bit about how, sadly, it sounds to me, from my understanding and my limited research in this area, that we have a hidden history, and that we've almost had these abilities conditioned out of us. And it's something
That's true.
I'd like to ask you about. So,
sure.
Anyway, Barbara DeLong, thank you very, very much. You're listening to Jingly-Jangly, folks. So I hope you're enjoying this, and we'll be coming back at the just after the top of the hour. You know what, Barbara, I always get these breaks wrong. I'm probably not. Oh no, I think we are there. Yeah. Okay.
No,
Promos.
welcome to my club.
That's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Studio B for the short end of the stick with the man who should have been elected governor of Arizona, Mike Harris.
That's right here on Revolution Radio.
Yeah, hey folks, you're listening to Jingly-Jangly here with Olly Connolly and Barbara DeLong, who presents our very own Nightlight here on Revolution Radio. And if you like what we do on Revolution Radio, do us a favor and chuck us a few quid, because the fact is that these servers cost a bit to keep on, or keep the lights on. And we don't get paid or anything like that. We all do this for, love and airtime or whatever. And it would be really cool. Sometimes we do get pretty close to the knuckle in terms of being able to present this network to you. So look, if you can afford it, if you can't, look, don't worry. And I hope you enjoy the show anyway. And just thanks for listening. And tell your friends. But if you've had a good month, please chuck us a few quid, because it really does help to keep us on the air and to be able to try and share some knowledge and try and learn. And I'm learning tonight, Barbara. Hey, you must think I'm such a novice, which I basically am.
No, I think it's charming, and I applaud you for diving into this field. So,
oh, bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm very curious. Just very bewildered as well, generally.
Well, it's another aspect of life that a lot of people don't go into. I mean, you want to tell me what to believe, I'll go to church and I'll believe what you tell me to believe. But more importantly, learn about yourself and figure out what's going on inside of you and discover the great stuff you've got. I mean, all of us have a spirit inside of us that has traveled through time and space. And there are, so many people have, for instance, fascinations with certain periods in time. And the reality probably is that they spent many lifetimes during that particular period. And that's why they are drawn to it this lifetime. It's of interest to them. So
yeah, no, wow, it makes you want. It does make you think, and that would make sense if you are on a spiritual journey, which would travel across all of the realms to date, wouldn't it? Your spiritual journey and all of the ones to come.
Sure.
That is your spiritual journey, and I guess you're trying to improve yourself each time, or is it just a very human way of looking at it? Maybe. Maybe that is that a silly way to look at it? Is that too simplistic?
No, I every time we reincarnate, we do it, male and female, both, so that we can experience both perspectives. And we've had, I tell everyone, you've been a saint and you've been a sinner, and you've been a whore and you've been a priest, and you can't understand something, frankly, unless you've experienced it. So,
well, there you go. I can do a few naughty things then. Sorry.
If you understand they're naughty, you've probably done them already.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, balls. All right. But there is a kind of a yin yang thing there, isn't there?
Sure. And the reality is this is an amazing place to learn and grow about ourselves. And I think that's the one thing that most people don't want to do. They don't want to work on themselves. I just rather blame someone else. And you get to a point in time where, come on, take responsibility for what the situations you've put yourself in, or the places that you've been that you shouldn't have been. I mean, you did it for a reason. And if you learned something from it, great. If you didn't, then you're probably going to have to return and experience it again. I mean, look at some people with relationships. They keep attracting the same kind of person to them over and over and over again. And I can't tell you the number of times that women have said to me, I just keep attracting losers. I don't understand. And the reality is we're magnets. So we attract to us what we think about ourselves. And if you're attracting losers, you probably think that's what you deserve. So take some time off, work on yourself, on how you approach things, on how you handle and deal with others, and then take a look and see what you're attracting to yourself. Because the reality is we create our reality by our perspective of it.
It has to be said that, because what you're talking about is personal development. And so the kind of things that one thinks about when it comes to personal development are at the core of it. One of the key things, of course, is education. And I don't know about you, but I mean, my heart cries when I look at the state of education and the kind of things that kids are taught. It to me, it's just a lot of conditioning nonsense, and they're really being given an awful start in terms of personal development.
No, I totally agree with you. Especially as far as just intellect. I mean, school and it's supposed to be a place where you first learn how to deal with other people and situations, and then that's where
that would be nice.
Yeah, you think so, but we don't teach children that at all. And now I've been through lots of schooling, and when I look back on it, I can honestly say to you that in spite of all of the schooling and the master's degree and all of that, what I have as knowledge and wisdom that I share with people, none of it came from schooling. Absolutely none of it.
Out of interest, what did you teach? Just out of interest.
I taught special ed.
Special
education.
Special education.
Yeah, I
don't know what that is.
It's they use so many different titles, but when I started, it was the retarded.
Right.
Down syndrome's children.
We're disabled kids. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Those kids are they are beautiful. I never see a Down syndrome kid that isn't just they've got a lovely spirit.
Oh,
what is that?
I truly believe that Down syndrome children are a half step in evolution. In other words, they have all of us have paired DNA. They have an odd chromosome, and I do believe they have an extra one. I do believe that as we evolve, that there will be a time when that extra chromosome is paired, and that's when you have a real step in evolution. These children are magnificent. I think they're brilliant. All they know is love, which is the way we should be.
They do. Yeah. And there's something, this is getting off the subject a bit, but I've been hearing recently that they've been talking about eliminating, basically because now you can choose so much of this stuff, like conception, these designer genes and all that, that these kind of folks are not going to be around. Or at least they're going to be considerably, there's not going to be as many. Yeah, we seem to be playing. Maybe this is an oxymoron, me saying this, but are we not playing too much God?
Definitely. I think that at some point in time, and it could be thousands of years in the future, that extra chromosome will be paired, and there you have a superhuman. You'll have somebody that hopefully takes the concept of love and incorporates it more into their life than we do. As far as some people worry about UFOs and aliens taking over the planet. And to be honest with you, while I've seen a UFO and I do believe in them, I really think that this planet is quarantined because we're much too, we're barbarians.
Yeah, we're pretty rowdy lot.
Yeah, and I really don't believe that if there is a cosmic alliance out there, they want anything to do with us, because we find a gift or something magical or something wonderful, and the government either suppresses it or they try to turn it into a weapon. I mean,
that's right. Yeah, either tax it or weaponize it.
Yeah, I mean, none of this for the good of all humanity. Look what we did with electricity. Tesla was going to give us free energy. Thomas Edison was going to charge us. And I think it was Ford that said, well, we'll go with Edison because there's a meter and we can charge them. Tesla had free energy for us way back there.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that is the case?
Yes. No, I know that is the case.
Why has nobody, because there were lots of patents, weren't there? You can look up the patents. But where are these free energy instruments now? I mean, you hear about them online every now and then, but then the story sort of seems to disappear, or you don't hear anything more of that particular model or what have you, or you do hear that people disappear and stuff like that as well. But
Tesla died almost penniless, and he had that free. It was free energy. He took it from the atmosphere. It was free. It didn't deplete anything. It was free.
Free, or it was transferable. It was transferable, I guess.
It was, well, he didn't have to pay for it. He didn't have to draw it from anywhere. So that it was, and he wanted to give it away because it didn't cost him anything. He just had to make the stuff that would channel it to people's houses and stuff. There have been cures for cancer that have been outlawed, and the people who developed them and wanted to give them away were exiled.
We've had Michael Finley on the show a few weeks ago talking about big cancer as such, and that's quite something.
And those cures have been, either taken up by the government or the people have been outlawed and driven out of the country, literally. And my father was in the FBI, and during World War II, he was at a test site that was in New York someplace, I forget where, and they had a brand new car there that they filled with water from the tap. They dropped a white pill into it, and it ran. It was clean energy.
This is This is a story to you from your father, who was in the FBI.
Yeah.
All right.
He saw the test, and he was amazed by it, and he said, "It solves all of our problems." The government bought the patent, and it's not anywhere because the oil companies would have been set out of business.
I wonder what was in that pill. My word. Oh, we could all do one of them.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. It would have revolutionized so much. So that when there's something that really, really works, that can help humanity, a government will buy it up and hide it because it will disturb their balance of power. And it happens over and over and over again. Do you concur with this theory that we have basically had our true potential suppressed from us? That is why we do not understand the mysteries. Well, first of all, they're made light of, or they're made frightening.
Yes, they are mocked a lot.
And a lot of it too, I do believe, is you look in the way that they are processing foods now. They're taking everything healthy out of the foods. I don't trust vaccines anymore because they're putting extra stuff in them. So that yes, I do believe that they are trying to keep us in a state where we don't question. Because they don't want questions, because they don't have the answers, and so
well, they don't have the answers that we want.
Well, they're not about to give us the truth,
no.
And I would say, Yeah, most people are being taught that some things are bad and therefore you don't go near them. I can't tell you the number of priests or nuns that I read for.
Really?
And then people will say, "Oh my God, that's heretical and that's against the Bible and that's against religion." No, it's not. If it's done right, if it's done in a spiritual manner, it gives you wonderful philosophies and information about yourself.
Yeah.
I have never seen in the 50 years I've been doing this work, I have never seen something negative. I have never seen somebody dying. I have never seen, I will, if somebody's going down a wrong path or if they're involved in a deal that could be shady, I'll say you might want to reconsider this. It doesn't feel stable to me, but I don't know for sure if it's because it's not stable or because it's against the law or, but I've never had an experience where I had a negative experience. And that's 50 years of really dealing with the public a lot.
So, in other words, people don't need to worry. We're very good at ruining everything.
Yes. But also, if somebody is going to go for a psychic reading anywhere, I absolutely tell them, check out the person who's going to be doing the reading, see if they have a website. If they have a website, look at the website. If they don't have a website, kind of step back a little bit, talk to people that have had readings, but also look at the person and see if they're happy, if they're content, if they're smiling, if there's joy in their life. Because if they're going to be giving you information, it's going to come through them. And if they have a lot of crap in their life, it's going to be attached to whatever they say to you. And when someone sits down for a reading, they're wide open. You can plant seeds. And you want to make sure that if anybody's going to plant seeds for you, they're going to be good seeds.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, so the powers that be, if we're being conditioned and suppressed is, I guess, the best word, really, more or less. If we're being suppressed, who is doing the suppressing? They're not like us. But then they're not as open-minded as I would say you or I, at least, to do that.
Well, on this planet, I do believe that there is a 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
Here we go. We go. Okay.
It's conspiracy, yes. I do believe that the large corporate structures, and that would be big pharma and the governments and religions. Those are the three big ones. I think that's a
conspiracy well proven now. Carry on.
Yeah, so that they all want to protect themselves, and then I do believe that a lot of the people that we think are really in control are not, that they're puppets as much as everybody else, and there is a push towards a one world order. And
they've been very honest about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And
people don't realize it, but they have been.
and once you have a one world order, you have lost everything, and you are totally a slave to whoever is in control.
Well, they say it's benevolent, and they also say it's so that they can control the climate or try to, and things like that.
Well, controlling the climate, that's what HAARP was trying to do, but I think they created the tidal wave that almost wiped out Haiti. Yeah. And if they're trying to control the climate, why aren't they helping places that are in drought?
The earthquake? Yeah,
earthquake.
Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
And it just, if they're trying to do this to help humanity, why aren't they just helping humanity get to there then? I mean, they will become dictators. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And so,
from that point of view, Trump's stance on the UN, not that I'm necessarily believe he has any particular stance on the UN. I don't really know what it is now, but he's got a point in terms of the UN is a dangerous vehicle that, for example, wants to bring about Agenda 21 and herd everybody up and put them into the cities and get people out of the countryside. And
I think the only thing good about the UN is it's a very valuable piece of property.
What, in New York, you mean? That big building.
I don't think that in any way, shape, or form that it has helped anything. UNICEF maybe, but
yes,
but
one would hope so, but one doesn't really know. But yeah,
I would hope so, but it's just like the League of Nations. That didn't work either, and I think that the UN
was the precursor to the UN, wasn't it? The League of Nations.
So I truly believe that the UN doesn't serve any purpose anymore. It's
supposed to keep us safe, so that if oh no, that's NATO. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Yeah, what does the UN do?
It takes money from everybody, and I'm not real sure. I mean, it's a joke. To go to the UN with a problem is a joke. They don't do anything.
It said it decides who you can and cannot go to war with legally. It does that. That's about it.
If somebody's going to go to war, they're not going to go to the UN and ask permission.
They've got this. Well, yeah. But,
hey, I'd like to bomb Korea. What do you think? No, it doesn't work that way. I don't know. I think they were trying so hard to bring peace into the world. They didn't realize that there are people in power who have no desire for peace, that they want power. And there's no way. I mean, look at the kid in Korea. I mean, please. Look what he did to his half brother. He had been assassinated. I mean, it doesn't work that way. I think I don't know what the answer is. I do know that the whole world is in a state of reorganization and resettling, and there's going to be conflict and upheaval everywhere. I don't know how large it's going to be. But
what do you think about this? This, as you say, resettlement. Yeah, because I have to say personally, I the idea of change and you know what, I remember this story. I can't remember all the story, but I remember the line that this guy had. He was a tube driver on the London Underground, and I can't remember the story, but basically he had this great line. He said, "If we live long enough, we'll all be the same color." And I thought that was beautiful. But on the other hand, as I got older, I thought it was sad, because it's distinctive culture is beautiful too. And the way
absolutely.
We're going is that we're this is particularly a European thing, I think. And indeed, this was the story last night in Holland, where they had the election, and there was one side of the press saying, and they got a point, that this guy Geert Wilders is a really hard right, fascist Nazi type character. Well, it has to be said, he does want to ban the Quran, and the idea to me of banning any kind of information is deplorable. But on the other hand, anyway, yeah, this guy on the one side. On the other side, the folks getting elected this is in Holland. They're Turkish, and they got 3 seats, the Turks. So Erdogan and all that dodgy, Turkey lot, and the administration in Turkey at the moment is verging on dictatorial. They now have got a hold in a European country in their parliament. And I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm just stating some facts here, or trying to, with a balanced way. But my question to you, Barbara, is this change that we're seeing, this redistribution of people. On the one hand, it's a nice idea, but does it's like it's an enforced, it's a demographic engineering that we're seeing, as opposed to something which is organic. And I think, I can't see anything good coming out of that apart from pitchforks at dawn, frankly, ultimately, when the more indigenous, loose word, population of Europe feel outnumbered by a population that they invited in that then, frankly, just took over. Look, so I'm talking about Muslims, for example, here. I'm not being rude to Muslims. I'm just saying that things have happened and people haven't really considered the ramifications, i.e., your culture will change. But people don't realize that yet, or they haven't realized it until just very, very recently.
Well, yeah. And when you take people...
I think that was a question.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I agree with you, because when you see this...
I think I'm soul-searching on this. I think a lot of us are soul-searching about this, no? Because there's different ways of looking at this.
If people wanted to migrate to different countries because they liked the culture and they could be assimilated into it, that's one thing. But when they're being forced, when one culture is being forced into another culture, and they don't want to let go of their own culture, then you have these things that are happening in Germany and here in the States as well. You have people coming into the country who are of a religion that is not large, and their way of life is so different from that here in the States, down to wearing the burqas, being able to assassinate your daughter if she doesn't pay attention. I mean, and they come in here holding on to their belief systems because it's all they have left. And they will not let go of them.
You've got to understand that. I mean, from their point of view, you've got to understand that. And also, these people we bombed them out of their homes.
That too. But this will not work.
No.
And it's sad, because there are those of the Muslim faith that I truly believe are kind and wonderful and loving, but we're not seeing those people. We're seeing people that have been ripped out of their home and shoved someplace else. And, that's not a good feeling.
No, that's right.
And yes, I'd be angry too, but would I want to corrupt the society that was welcoming me with open arms? Well, the people in Germany are seeing that, I mean, it's there's
like Sweden. Trump was actually pretty much right about Sweden, I think, frankly, what he said.
Yeah.
The media gave him a hard time for it, but the fact is that he wasn't that far wrong, I have to say.
Well, and most migrations are done voluntarily. None of these are being, it's not a voluntary migration. I mean,
do you think, would you go so far as to say that it's orchestrated?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, there is a conspiracy to destabilize everything so that everybody will reach for help, and when help is given, there will be an agenda attached to it that will blow our minds. It's destabilizing everything, throwing everything into chaos, and then giving everybody the dessert with whipped cream and cherries on top of it. Come be with me, I'll take care of you. And there will be a time when everybody is so tired and worn out from all of the unsettlement that they'll reach for it without thinking. And when they do that, not only will they probably get diabetes from all the sugar and indigestion, but they will be in a dictatorial state.
This is a pretty risky move for the powers that be, isn't it? It was, I think, George Herbert Walker Bush who said, if the American people knew what we'd been getting up to, then we would all be lynched.
Yes.
And the fact is that we now do. A huge proportion of us, I think, post, as opposed to BC, sort of BI, or rather in the era of the internet, as opposed to before the internet, we've got a pretty good understanding of what's going on and how we've been lied to, and how these people running the place are just so untrustworthy. And even people that don't have any knowledge really of any of this, now no longer trust politicians or the media,
No.
which is wonderful. It's a fantastic development. So, this is a very risky strategy for the powers that be. No,
Well,
I mean,
look at the Bush family. They bought a huge tract of land down in South America, huge, that happens to sit right on top of one of the largest sources of water in the world, and it's right near an Air Force base. Now, why would they do that? I mean,
farming.
Oh, sure. But
I was curious. I agree. Venezuela, wasn't it? Or something like that.
And you see these kind of moves being made, and I often said, maybe 5 years ago, I said, I get the feeling that this planet is a kind of game board, and we're all pieces on it, and we don't know what the game is, but we're being moved around without our own permission. And I still feel that way. I still feel that much as you want to point a finger and say conspiracy with George Soros or conspiracy with the Clintons or whatever, I won't deny there's probably conspiracy there, but I don't think that's the top of the pyramid, so to speak. And in spite of all of this, there is so much wonderful stuff going on in the world. Like the Bosnian pyramids. I mean, they're fascinating. And are you familiar with them at all?
I've heard of one pyramid in Bosnia that they uncovered. I didn't know that there were pyramids plural. Didn't know that.
There are 7 of them. And they are discovering that there are all sorts of tunnels that link all of them, actually. And it's amazing what they're discovering. They're discovering that the negative ions that are in all of the tunnels actually have a healing component to them that help people to get over all sorts of conditions.
Wow.
The tunnel, this pyramid of the sun, the largest of them, is emitting a signal, and it's measurable, and well, that's the cool thing. It is sending out this energy. It doesn't come from deep within the pyramid, and as it leaves the top of the pyramid, it expands out, and it's basically been resonating this particular signal for at least the last 30,000 years, because that's how far back they date the pyramid and the tunnels. And what they did was they recorded it, and then they played it back to the pyramid. And after they played it back to the pyramid, the signal increased by 40 times. So,
hold on a sec. Sorry. Okay, I'm trying to get this. How did they use the pyramid to amplify the signal?
They didn't. They recorded it, and then they played it back to the pyramid. And after they were done playing it back, the pyramid increased the signal and the power of the signal by 40 times.
What, they took the tape recorder inside the pyramid and played it there, you mean? And the signal was increased?
No, to my understanding, they did it outside the pyramid, because inside the pyramid, in the tunnels, that's not where this signal is originating from. It's originating more towards the top of the pyramid, which they haven't even gotten to yet. And
so that pyramid is like an amazing aerial.
Yeah, and it is larger than the Pyramid of Giza, and older than the Pyramid of Giza by a lot. So
maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's what we need here at the Rev Radio. We need our own pyramid to get it out there.
But you got something like that going on in the world, where this is free negative ion energy. You go into the tunnels and you hang out there for a while, and things like arthritis and all sorts of they even had somebody whose cancer went into remission. And what I love about the person that is Dr. Sam, who is the one that I interview him for my show, and his interview is on my website. All of my Freedom Slips shows are on a player on the front page of my website.
Tell us your site. Tell us your site, Barbara, quick.
It's real hard. It's barbaradelong.com.
Lovely, barbaradelong.com.
And what's fascinating is that all of the stuff that's going on there, all of the archaeologists in Egypt were saying, especially Hawass, saying, oh, this is, he's hallucinating. There isn't a pyramid there. It's just a natural structure. And people who went from Egypt to see this pyramid got...
Oh, go on. That was your alarm clock. Hello? Oh, what's going on here? Don't know what's going on here. Okay, we just lost Barbara. But, yeah, what a lovely lady. I'm going to try and get her back.
I'm back.
Oh. Hey, Barbara. All right.
Okay, so that all of the guys from Egypt that came and looked into it and said, no, it's a real pyramid, were fired. So for the longest time, the archaeologists and stuff like that, who, owned the world with their pyramids and everything, were threatened. And they were not threatened by the fact that, here was something that is magical. Here is something that is definitely fabulous and older than the Pyramid of Giza. No, they were worried about their tourist money. They didn't want to lose the tourist traffic to Egypt from Bosnia. So no matter what happens, no matter what kind of discoveries are out there, there's always somebody who has, a dollar sign in their eyes. And this is not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to, celebrate discoveries and learn more about our history. It doesn't work that way these days.
That's another example of the kind of things that have been covered up hard. I'm thinking about portals here, Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say that that's the reason that we went. No, not a lot of people. A few people say that that's the reason we went to Iraq to try and grab hold of that ancient technology. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I've heard about it.
No, that's all right, Barbara. No problem. Yeah, I'm not going to ask you to trip up.
No, but the ancient technology is out there. But what's happening is the government is 5 steps ahead of us, telling us it's a fraud or it's not real or whatever. And if you look into the Kincaid's gold in the Grand Canyon here in the U.S., Kincaid was in the 1800s, discovered a cave. He was sent by the Smithsonian to go down the river that goes down through it. He found this cave that had mummies in it and had all sorts of fascinating things in it. The tunnels in the caves were large enough to hold about 5,000 people. Yeah.
Huh. It's true.
So if you look into it now, the Smithsonian says, no, he never worked for us. And yet there was an expedition sent. And the expedition took a lot of the stuff back to the Smithsonian. And Scott Walter, who does America Unearthed, tried to go and see where the entrance to the cave was, and found that FAA would not let anybody fly near where the entrance to the cave was. They're totally denying that it exists.
It's like an Area 51, an ancient Area 51.
Yeah. I mean, every time something that connects us to a really far distant past comes up, and we are absolutely steered away to it. We are told it doesn't exist. We're told that there's no such thing. Look at the Smithsonian's in the 1800s, when all of the bodies of giants were discovered in the U.S.
I was going to say, it's like the elongated skulls too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, the Smithsonian took all of the bones. They send it to the Smithsonian. Fine. There are rumors that they dumped most of them in the ocean, or crushed them, or destroyed them, and yet the population of the U.S. before the Native Americans came in across the land bridge were giants. There were giants here, and that's not in our history books.
No, that's not in the history books. That actually makes sense out of David and Goliath, doesn't it? Just as an aside,
Absolutely.
Again, maybe a bit of a, I must sound so naive here because I imagine most of your guests just know all of this stuff, and probably most of the hosts on this network know most of this stuff as well.
Oh, I wouldn't count on that.
You are a pretty hippie lot, though, aren't you, Barbara? Let's face it.
Oh, I've only been with Freedom Slips for a year. I've had a radio show for about 8 years, but I'm new to Freedom Slips, so I'm still feeling my way as well. But
yeah, no, me too. Yeah, no, good. Well, yeah, these. So okay, so you're saying giants roamed the United States, before the Native Americans took residence, then, or?
Oh yeah, and there are
America,
a lot of
or South America, or both.
North America.
North America. Well, yeah, the Grand Canyon, obviously. Yeah.
But there are stories of giants all over the world. On my website, there's a whole section that is dedicated to giants, and they're all over the place. And I'm not talking 8 feet tall. I'm talking 10 and 15 and 20 feet tall. I'm talking big people.
Yeah,
so,
they would have put together a basketball team, and that would have been it.
Absolutely. Don't even bother to enter. But they've discovered them. They've discovered their technology was amazing, and their level of spirituality, I guess. But they had, they obviously had a great intellect and a great organization, and they've been totally ignored, wiped out, and the school books don't even talk about it. They also talk about how wonderful Christopher Columbus was, that mass murderer. So, it's our children are not getting an education; they're getting an indoctrination, and that's sad.
It is, and it impacts on society as well, entirely in every way, every measurable way, in later life as these kids get older, and that's what we're seeing. And but people, I guess it is as basic as we just don't like change. But people cannot remotely accept. People are so closed to the vast majority of this stuff. And in fairness, though, I don't know about you, but I look at these folks, Barbara, and I've gone through the motions as I've gained more awareness about the way the world works. For example, I've gone through the motions myself, and some of it's been very upsetting, and then a lot of anger, and going through all the range. Yeah, and I can understand why it is difficult for people. That denial is much easier, but people do seem to go through life just not thinking that there's any purpose to their life. They say that they're a, whatever religion or what have you, but when it comes down to it, people just seem very wrapped up in their own little thing, and they're not really interested in what anybody else has got to say.
Well, some of it, don't you think, is fear? Because, if you do this, then this will happen. And it's kind of like, you think so? I don't think so. But it is sad. And what happens is we get so caught up in our own stuff that we forget we're part of a culture and we're part of a species. And we all are the same. Doesn't matter what color you are. We're all the same species, and we're humanity. And if we work together, chances are we'd go a lot further. I mean, there are parts of our world that are so behind, they're still in the Stone Age, for Pete's sakes.
Yeah.
And something, in many ways they're better off than we are.
I was going to say, I mean, some of these tribes in the Amazon or what have you, you could argue they're way better off. They're ahead of us.
Absolutely. And actually, for us to get close to them means that we would just, infect them like Columbus infected the people around him.
That's right.
We don't exactly bring, technology, great, but also comes with it all the germs that we carry, which is horrifying. So
we have been getting close to them, though, haven't we? There've been a few TV crews and what have you now. I think there's one island in Indonesia where you can't get close to them because as soon as you do, they start eating you. But
that would
there
be
are other.
that would slow me down a little bit. Yeah.
That would slow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, come here, I'll chew your legs off. But there are tribes in the Amazon that are a bit more curious. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna ruin these tribes, aren't we? We're already getting too close to them.
Well, there was a movie out a long time ago called "The Gods Must Be Crazy," and in the movie there was a man in an airplane flying over someplace in the Amazon. He was eating his lunch. He finished his Coke. He threw it out the window. It fell to earth and it hit a native on the head. And the native picked up the Coke bottle because it was a gift from God, and they worshipped the damn Coke bottle.
It sounds like something out of the film
sky.
Idiocracy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but when you think of the responsibility, the tremendous responsibility about taking someone from a culture that knows nothing about politics or any of the other stuff that we carry as baggage, and trying to explain to them how wonderful the world is. I mean, if I were them, I would pull the covers over my head and not peek out till they were gone. Because only bad can come of it. I mean, there's no way that we can help them come into a world of technology and all of the stuff that's involved in it and be able to explain to them the cruelty that exists among humanity now. I mean, we're not a nice race. No. We try. There are individuals who are really, really nice, but people like Gandhi and Mother Teresa, to name two, I can't think of any others right now, but that are current. But to say that we are meant to be a loving, kind, compassionate race, and then taking a look at what's going on here, it's a very sad thing.
Do your abilities allow you to foresee where we're going as a race?
Well, I think the destiny of mankind in about 1,000 years will be one that is joined together, and that there will be a more loving, compassionate way of life here. But if you look at, within the next 5 years, I think we're, from what I can see, from what every month I put up predictions for the months yet to come.
You do. You do that, do you?
Yeah, they're on my website. They're under Cosmic Forecasts. I don't have this month's up yet, but it'll get up, and then I'll get the rest of the year up. But basically, there are a number of things. I felt strongly that there would be restrictions for travel between March and June, and that does appear to be happening. I felt also that there was going to be upheaval and riots I saw especially Chicago, San Francisco, and LA, that there would be riots where they, and not just little ones, big ones. And as it appears,
you think that's on the way?
I do. They're all sanctuary cities. And I do feel that the federal funds will be withdrawn, and that possibly the militia will have to go in or something. I also, on another, and sometime this summer, it felt that we would become more and more aware that our NASA program was a fraud, and that really the scientists have been working on interdimensional phasing as opposed to actually rocket ship travel.
I'm sorry. What was that again? Instead of rocket ship travel?
That we're going to find out that our rockets and our rocket ships are only a screen to the fact that the scientists have been working on interdimensional stuff, so that
the secret space program.
Yeah, more like Stargate type stuff.
So you think that we're already capable, that we already have the technology to jump into other galaxies relatively easily?
I do believe we do, but I also don't buy into any of the people that are out there that say, well, I was part of this test program and I time traveled. I don't buy that, because
Right.
to me, it's sensationalism. It's somebody out to you know, for fame and fortune, actually. I do believe
But you think the secret space program is about to be disclosed?
Oh, I don't think it's
exposed?
going to be disclosed. I think exposed is a better word
Yeah,
for it.
sure. Yeah.
And I do believe it's out there. I do believe that, and I don't for a moment believe that we're talking spaceships. All the UFOs out there are, in my opinion, just drones. They aren't manned. They're drones, and
Really?
they're watching. Yeah. I don't buy that they're here to do anything other than watch.
You're right. What's the point of them putting in any, folks? They might as well just, we use drones now, don't we?
Yeah. But
Why
we
shouldn't
just
they?
Exactly. I mean,
Never thought about it.
Yeah.
I always thought about the alien that Will Smith's pulling along in the desert.
No.
Smoking a cigar.
One of my favorite movies too. But no, come on. If they were going to invade, we have records of them going back to the Stone Age. Come on. If they were going to do anything or re-terraform the planet or enslave us so that they can, we can mine gold for them, that's garbage.
It does. To me, that rings true. I hear, for example, the highly revered Stephen Hawking saying, we better be careful contacting alien life because they'll come and, give us a wallop, like, Christopher Columbus style sort of thing. But actually, I would have thought, I don't know. I mean, if they are that advanced that they can get over here now, they probably could have got over here already, and they probably know about us. I don't know. I have no idea at all.
I do,
but he does sound a little bit paranoid, Stephen Hawking, saying that maybe, but it kind of makes sense too.
Well, it does, and then it doesn't. I mean, in Star Trek they had a non-intervention thing. And trust me, the Earth would probably fall into that, that category of, don't, unless they have really ascended to a certain level of consciousness, don't make contact because you'll catch a hell of a flu bug and never get rid of it. We're not ready.
I've also heard that there's a hidden code, a sort of an interdimensional council thing, whereby the more powerful aliens, I mean, we're aliens too, huh? We went to the moon. We're aliens there, I guess. So these more powerful aliens, the complete about that. Even if they wanted to, they're not allowed. They have a sort of a code of honor. They're not allowed to interfere. Which some people say to me, that's the reason why they don't stop, idiots running about on planet Earth because they're not allowed to interfere.
Well, I think that we're at a point here where we aren't developed enough to be able to understand the society that they represent. Yeah.
In my case, hands up there, yeah.
So in another 1,000 years, maybe. In another 1,000 years, maybe one element will kill off the other element, and then there will only be one group. I don't know. Billy Meyer said another 800 years before we're ready to step into a galactic society of any sort. Beats me. I don't know. I wish I did.
I guess that if there is truth in that, in these intergalactic beings, then would it not make sense that they would say, you know what, until you are unified as a people, as a race, then there's no way we're going to interact with you because you're clearly not mature enough. But
exactly.
Then that's kind of going along with this whole New World Order globalist government type thing that we're actually very scared of as well. I think decent people are very scared of.
Well, it's it's not giving you any options. And if there's only one government and if there's only one power, then you don't have the options. Then you are totally controlled, about what if we do that? What if there is this one world order and somebody discovers something that just, blasts the hell out of all of their philosophies? That person will be squelched and we'll be in the same place we are now, controlled by powerful entities that don't give us room to grow.
What other predictions have you got for 2017, Barbara, or for the next few years?
I feel strongly that there's going to be a lot more environmental upheavals, earthquakes where we don't expect them. The new Madrid line that goes down the middle of the country here in the U.S. is probably going to erupt within the next couple of years, and when it does,
what is that? A fissure?
It's a fault line.
A fault line. Sorry, yeah.
And the last time it erupted, it was a 9-point earthquake, and that was in 1813, and it's past due. And
yeah, that's right.
At this moment in time,
Yosemite is past due, isn't it, as well? Too.
Oh yeah. I don't see Yosemite going off, but I do see some major earthquakes here that are going to, in some ways, possibly change the face of the United States. I do feel that we're in for a rocky 4 years, if not 8 years. But I do feel that if Trump has a chance to actually, stop and think about it. Our government is a corporation, and he's a brilliant negotiator who heads corporations. He's a good person to have in charge. I feel that a lot of the lies that have been told, the conspiracies that have been going on here in this government are going to be uncovered, that there are foundations that are going to crumble. And by foundations, I don't mean buildings. I mean foundations. And we're going to find reorganization.
Barbara DeLong, thank you so much for coming on my show. It's really, really lovely, not just to talk to you, but to get to know you a bit as well. And I really, really appreciate that. God bless you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And that's barbaradelong.com. You can check out Barbara's website. And thank you very much. I'm Olly Connolly. You've been listening to Jingly-Jangly. I suppose you should hear a bit of this. Just a bit of there you go. All right. So, hey, Revolution Radio, we got Mike Harris coming up. Short end of the stick. God bless you.
Listening to Revolution Radio.